Hello and thanks for staying with us. This is Political Platform on RAPA FM and Africa Independent Television, AIT. My name is Amechi Anapua. Apologies for starting a little bit behind schedule. And as the Osun State governorship election draws closer, growing incidents of political violence are raising fresh concerns about the conduct of a peaceful and credible poll. In recent weeks, there have been reports of shootings and violent clashes in parts of Osogbo and other communities, with rival political parties trading accusations over responsibility. Suspected gunmen also attacked a political meeting in Osogbo, leaving casualties, while armed hoodlums reportedly disrupted the distribution of permanent voter cards in Odotin local government area, cutting away electoral materials. Security agencies have stepped up efforts to contain the situation. In one of its latest operations, the Osun State Police Command arrested the secretary to the state government, Teslim Ibalaye, along with 5 others over allegations that border on vote buying, criminal conspiracy, and harboring a wanted suspect. He has since been freed by the police. The state government has challenged the action, describing it as politically motivated. Now, how can political leaders rein in their supporters? Are security agencies doing enough to deter electoral offenders while remaining impartial? These are some of the critical issues we shall be discussing on Political Platform today. We are hoping to have join us a member of the House of Representatives from Osun State. We hope we'll connect with him. But before that, we will weigh in on the statement of President Bola Tinubu to governors of the 36 states of the Federation, and it is on the issue of flyover bridges. Now, President Bola Tinubu, on Thursday, while receiving traditional rulers from Oyo State, urged state governors to prioritize projects that have a direct impact on the lives of citizens, advising them to avoid spending scarce resources on unnecessary flyovers. The president noted that with the increase in allocations to states following his administration's fiscal reforms, governors now have more funds to invest in critical sectors such as education, healthcare, agriculture, and rural roads, and indeed other people-centered projects. But we have seen what is happening across the length and breadth of the country, a competition of some sort between governors over who will build the longer flyover bridges, even when it's obvious that the traffic counts in these bridges are undeserving of such huge projects, prompting some citizens to reach the conclusion that perhaps it has become a conduit pipe through which public funds are siphoned away. The bigger the project's contract size, the bigger the kickback that may follow. Well, my colleagues are with me on the program today, Uju Ejeye and Mustafa Mohammed. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I think that even apart from the flyovers, the bridges, which personally I really don't see anything bad in that if it can help move traffic in this state. I think the one that I do not quite understand is the one of airports and, owning state airlines.
Okay, Mustafa Mohammed.
You know what caused this problem is the inability of the party to have a blueprint for development and governance. That's why from Adamawa to Maiduguri to Yobe to Nasarawa. Of course, in Nasarawa state, the one along Maraba-Kefi highway is understandable where the traffic is so high at the post office in Maiduguri.
Yes.
But the other places you can't justify.
There are those that are justifiable, but there are more that are unjustifiable. Let's hear from the president. He was speaking when he met with traditional rulers from Oyo State. Let's take a listen.
You have governed before as the governor. You need to help us communicate to these governors. Today, the economy of operation is high. More the money that I'm pushing to the states, if you had it during your own time or during my time, it would have been different. They are taking 4 to 5 times their money in the past. Nobody is borrowing money to pay salaries now. Pensioners are receiving their pay and gratuity. And they should do more to, instead of flyover where there's no numeric traffic, build the roads and arteries, network to really enhance the quality of life and the accessibility of the security agencies to penetrate those areas. I will be calling meetings of so many of you traditional leaders to offer to listen to you and offer some suggestions. And throughout the country, I'll do that. Find time to listen to that. The immediate challenge is monumental. It's not an easy job, but to me, I asked for the job and I got it. You gave me the support and I got to do it. I accept the asset and liability of my predecessor. So that's the challenge of today.
Okay, apparently the president indicting governors for wasting public funds, as it were.
Not making judicious use of the extra money that they have got. Yes, he is right in every sense of what he has said, because some of the projects are just white elephant projects. They don't really identify the needs of the people to meet the aspiration of the people. Okay, look at, instead of investing in something like agriculture, if the governors can invest in agriculture today, a lot of the unemployed youths that we have in this country, most of them that have been pushed to join militants and terrorist groups, would not be doing that because they'll be gainfully employed. Have you been to Niger State? If you see the length of roads, if you see the land, in Niger State, you will begin to understand why bandits and terrorists can keep hiding there.
Bigger than the entire Southeast put together.
Exactly. And then nothing is being done on this land. No industries, no farming, nothing. And then you look at Edo State, if you're flying from Ondo to Edo State, or maybe from Lagos to Edo State, you see a lot of arable land, fertile land. God has blessed us with fertile land. Why are we not utilizing all of these? I also saw a lot of land in Plateau State. Almost every part of Nigeria is blessed with something, to develop for the benefit of the people. The governors should look at what the people really need. Every state must not own an airport and airline. At the end of the day, they are not viable. They are not. Most of them fly half empty. Most of them fly quarter empty. They are not really bringing the kind of revenue. But it's just a matter of saying, I was the first to build an airport. If you are the first to create employment for thousands of youths, Nigerians will still clap for you.
To be fair to Governor Umar Bago of Niger, they call him the farmer governor. If you compare the population to the land mass, there's no way they can farm the entire land mass in the state. But Governor Umar Bago, to my knowledge, has done a lot to farming. He has done a lot to peace and security in the state. The latest is that if anybody, all these extremist Muslim groups preach in the pulpit or anywhere, insulting whether Muslims or Christians or neighbors, they are going to face the wrath of the law. So for so many of us, it's a thumbs up to Governor Umar Bago of Niger State. But going beyond that, for a very long time, a former governor of Zamfara built a cargo airport, was awarding the contract. And a lot of us were asking questions those years that what are they going to fly out from Zamfara? Is it the sun they are going to fly out? Then followed by former Governor Al-Makura of Nasarawa State, when he insisted that he was going to have a cargo airport in Nasarawa. Of course, you have a lot of mineral resources, but when you are transporting those stones before they process, you are not going to use aircraft to transport them. And several other governors followed. And then suddenly the era of putting overhead bridges and underpass came. Of course, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso started the underpass in Kano. Then several other governors followed. So many people allege that it's when you award this huge inflated in court amount of money for the contract on overhead bridges that you have a lot of money being warehoused by those companies for the interest parties. But fundamentally, what put us into this position is the lack of party supremacy. In the First and Second Republic, the political parties have a blueprint. They have information on the needs of every region or state. And they got their state governors to do projects that those states need in education, in electricity, agriculture, hospitals, and what have you. But virtually, the party headquarters now, the ruling party headquarters, whether the PDP, which was the national ruling party before the APC took over, and the current APC, is like they don't have a blueprint that will guide their state governors on what exactly they do. And when you have this money, you can also invest. Even at the stock exchange, you can put some money. Because these revenues that are coming, the future might be for clean energy. You might not continue to have this high cost of petroleum products, export, a lot of money coming in the excess crude, whatever. If you have money in the various stocks in Nigeria, hundreds and millions or billions will be coming to your state. And then the other aspect that the state governments have really failed is in developing the human capacity of their public service. You see directors, permanent secretaries, when you engage in conversation with them, you will discover that they don't know much about governance, and many of them know next to nothing. How are you going to get development with officials, very senior officials in your state, without having this capacity to deliver what you put them there? And a lot of money, of course, is coming. The president tried by giving them money so that they can also pay salary and do so many other things. In the past, even loans were given to them to pay salaries. States like Kogiden and Bello, even as it was collecting the money, salaries were still being owed. But I think we should go beyond this. How can we revamp the revenues we are generating? How can we develop in the state by developing the human capacity in both their public service and state citizens?
Well, I think that we are saying the same.
The issue here is that the president said it clearly that he has made more money available to state governors, rightly, based on the twin policies of fuel subsidy removal and flotation of the currency. More money, at least in Naira terms, getting to the governors. The hope of the president is that as this money gets to the governors, they will spend it productively in areas that will affect the human, the citizen. But unfortunately, as the president has found out for himself, the governors have chosen to spend it elsewhere in huge infrastructure projects that may not directly affect the welfare of citizens. And the thing is that the impact is getting back to the president, because every time they meet him, they tell him about hunger, and he keeps defending about the issue of hunger in the land. There's hunger because the governors are not spending rightly, and the federal government is also not absolved. The other day, if you recall, on the floor of the Senate, Adams Oshemole was accusing the works minister of embarking on new roads when the existing ones are dilapidated. Perhaps the president will also have to ask his Minister of Works, David Umahi, who delivered about 8 or more flyovers in Ebonyi State when he was a governor, many of them in rural areas. Many of them
where the traffic is not
where the traffic count is so low. So it's a culture When one governor starts it, that's a bandwagon effect. We see it. Every other governor will follow. Before it's airport, at some point they reverted to renovating government houses. Every other person kidding. The next thing is conference centers. They call it international conference center. Projects that demand huge sums that but don't bear directly on the people.
Yes, you know, in a way, Mustafa and I are saying almost the same thing, but in different forms. I didn't say that maybe Umar Bago did not do anything or has not done anything. I'm not saying that the governors are not doing anything, but they need to do more. Because where you have a country where there are lots and lots of needs, that the people are crying every day over basic necessities of life, then you need to do more. If you're not meeting those needs, if you're not meeting the aspirations of the people, then you haven't done well enough. So you may have done. There's something called 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. It's connotes work, but certainly not enough to give you a pass mark. The governors need to look into areas like agriculture.
And we must always charge them to do more.
Exactly, of course.
Because the reward for work done well is
more good work. And then if, like he said, human capacity is very essential, building the capacity of the people. Now, how are you going to build that capacity? You have to borrow from those who know. If you remember when we were depending on China for technology at a point in time, if you must borrow technology, borrow ideas. Borrow ideas. You can get consultants to develop ideas for you that will benefit your people. And in the course of executing all of that, then the people will begin to grow. In the Niger Delta, they didn't know about most of this oil processing and co until the white men came. And of course, now they have learned. And the School of Petroleum technology that was opened there has also helped in training the people. So let the governors put on their thinking caps. Let them think out of the box. They can borrow what they don't have and develop it and then build it into their own system.
You know, when Muhammadu Buhari was sworn in and he formed his cabinet, Babatunde Fashola was the Minister of Works and Housing and Power at the beginning. And at his maiden press conference, which I attended, Fashola told everyone that the federal government will concentrate on contracts of roads and bridges that have reached at least 60, 70, 80% to be completed before new contracts will be awarded. And then suddenly, after that press conference, a few months later, lots of contracts were being awarded till the end of the first tenure. And then after they won election, he still came back. Lots of contracts were being awarded. And there were no funding. By the time they finished administration, we learned about 6 trillion naira were being owed contractors. And when Umahi came, a lot of contracts were being revoked because the contractors were not paid. A lot of them stopped working. So many new contractors were being re-awarded those contracts, and still the federal roads were not being paid for. Many contractors are not working. And then you have the huge new contracts, Sokoto, Badagry, Lagos, Calabar, and other. And there are contracts that are over 10, 20 years that have not completed. The last section of Kano Maiduguri, Adamaturu Maiduguri, the last sections of Abuja, Lokoja, then this Abuja, Kaduna, Kano from Zaria to Kano, and so many others. And of course, Umahi has another big distraction. You know this young lady that died in his house at the state. There are a lot of things that are coming up. We learned Sokapo, the southern Kaduna people have taken him to court. And the latest I learned yesterday on the social media that the minister might have called threatening them to withdraw the matter. I think that is a very, very distraction for the expectation
that is what
of Nigerians. Yeah, it's a distraction for our road construction. But at the state level, the state government need to do more. Even the model of the First Republic should serve as a model for so many. The first thing in the north that the Sardauna of Sokoto did was to use each of the 12 provinces he created to build schools, hospitals, rural roads, including places where they are not generating huge revenues.
Okay.
And reflecting on why, even after the North in 1909 joined the British colonies, even though places like Kano and Sokoto were conquered, was that the British refused to invest in education in the North. Their fear was that they don't want to they don't want to create Muslim elites like in the Sudan colony under Egypt that led by Mahdi, found the British to a standstill. And in Egypt, they were challenging the UK. So that was one of the reasons why they didn't do as much as they did in southern Nigeria.
Now, the issue here is, like the president charged the governors, you have to focus on productive ventures. And it's clear, you talked about the governors thinking out of the box. You don't even need to think out of the box. It's as plain as ABC. If you invest in education, if you invest in health, if you invest in agriculture massively,
textile
then you reap
industries.
the benefits. These are investments that go directly to the people. The problem here is that the government, including the federal government, they don't focus on the human. They don't focus on the citizens as priority. They are focused on infrastructure projects. There have been researches that I've done across the world. As much as you do infrastructure projects, they do not necessarily translate to better welfare and living condition of the people. It's not just a outcome of research. There are areas if you invest on, it hits the people by improving directly their welfare and well-being. And these are things they should consider. Focusing on the economy, 1 trillion naira dollar economy, when the economic indicators are saying that Nigerians are the worst off across the world in terms of access to education, healthcare,
even food.
We should move away from that strategy of focusing on the economy. We are building an economy. You can't build an economy when Nigerians are hungry. That's why issue of hunger has remained on the top burner and is a major challenge.
An economy that is not impacting positively on the life of the everyday Nigerian.
So focus on the people.
You keep
the
telling
people first before the economy.
Exactly. This the GDP has grown, has improved everything. And at the end of the day, the ordinary Nigerian is worse off. He's going through hunger. What about our textile industries? What about these other areas? Kaduna used to be a big example in the north before all these unnecessary crises, destroyed the infrastructure in Kaduna. We had textile industries, Nichemtex, I think that was Kaduna.
It's not just one. They have
and then there was another one in Kano. And then this was providing employment for young people, middle-aged people. And Kaduna was contributing also to the overall economy of the country. What happened to all those ideas?
If you go to Kaduna, just go to the industrial area in the southern part of the city, the Pujo Assembly, the various textile companies, then go to Nasarawa Industrial Estate inside the Kano city. It's a sordid site that, you will cry for Nigeria, from foods and beverages to textile to whatever. They have all clothes, just like in Lagos. One former minister complained that many of the old warehouses and factories are churches in Lagos. But going beyond
even in most states, you remember?
Yes, but going beyond this, where we got it so wrong, one of the reasons in the state is that because of corruption, the ministries and parastatals in the various states don't award contracts for services under them. It's only the governor and his chief of staff in the government houses in the state that award contracts. If they nominate you and swear you in,
are there no procurement laws at the state?
In fact, they can only, even if they will only ask the state, the ministry to do a paperwork. But the awards and whatever, the governor in the government house determines who does which contract, what is the cost, who are the beneficiaries. So basically, the states are not, the ministries and parastatals in the states are not functional because the governors thought they are wise because of the monies involved. It's a one-man show. If they make you a commissioner, you are just there with the official car attending the state executive council meetings and you don't have anything with you. This. And then this practice since the military days has rendered the civil servant at the state level very, very functional.
Okay.
And even during the
Unproductive.
Second Republic, the state governments have done a lot. I can give you examples in Kano and Maiduguri.
Now, let's look at the constitutional provision that charged government what to do. The Constitution gave government first two primary responsibilities: security and welfare. Now, how are we faring in terms of security? Yes, you can say efforts are being made to establish another layer of security, state police system and other, because the single federally controlled security architecture is grossly inadequate to deal with the problem. So when a government fails to provide security and fails to provide welfare, and when you ask them their achievement, they point at projects, they point at bridges, point at airports, point at the economy.
Empty hospitals.
So it tells you it's a complete failure on the part of any government that cannot guarantee security and cannot guarantee welfare. Welfare, when there is hunger in the land, the topmost on the hierarchy of welfare is food and shelter. If you don't have it, then what are you doing? Why are you still in office? What are you doing in government houses? Shouldn't you resign and accept failure and allow others to come in because you have failed on the two critical demands that the Constitution placed on you? Anyway, let's go on a break. Or you want to add something?
Yes,
quickly?
I just wanted to add that even the bridges are not being built where they are needed. Look at the Lokoja Bridge. Every year during the rainy season, people go through hell. Houses are submerged.
But that's a federal project.
We're talking about both federal and state governments right now. We're talking about development for the people. All tiers of government. Look at that Lokoja Bridge. When you talk about Dave Umahi, shouldn't he be looking at that bridge? Is it until the bridge collapses and people, people fall into the water that we will now? You're working on it. You don't do it during the dry season before the rainy season. When are you supposed to do it?
That's why when you ask them for their scorecard, they point at legacy projects. Legacy project for what? When people are hungry, they point at growth in GDP. We should look in at those indices that affect the people directly. We should change that narrative of building an economy, but to build our people, it takes people that are alive and well to run the economy, and that should be the priority. Let's go on a break now. When we come back, we'll focus on Osun State governorship election, violence trailing that poll that will come in a matter of just about 3 weeks or below. So much happening, I will be weighing in on it. Do stay with us.
Hello, my name is Sheriff Obrewuri, the governor of Delta State. I have the pleasure to invite you to Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026, taking place in Asaba from August 3rd to 5th, 2026. Over 40 prospective investors from Brazil and China, policymakers, business leaders, and international development partners are expected at this summit. It is an opportunity to connect your business ideas with capital, foster strategic partnerships, and take your business to a new level of growth and expansion. This government believes strongly in the economic development model that is led by the private sector. Hence, we have put in place investor-friendly policies that encourage private investors, support business growth, and foster massive industrialization of our state. With Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, GCON, as keynote speaker, and Professor Patrick Lumumba as guest speaker. The summit promises to be an exciting and rewarding time for all participants. So, join us and be part of shaping the next chapter of Delta State's economic transformation. Thank you and God bless.
So much for staying with us. As we go into Osun State, we'll share with you excerpts of latest events, concerns being raised by interest group members, civil society organization insisting on free and fair election. Some political parties are alleging intimidation by security agencies, and the National Peace Committee has been busy signing peace accords and ensuring that commitments made by the different political parties and candidates that they should stick to the rules will be indeed something that will guide the election. Let's take a listen.
In every election, somebody will win, others will lose. That is normal. Life will continue. And so, in the name of the National Peace Committee, I am making my special appeal to all the political party members here present to abide by the spirit and the letter of the accord that you will now sign.
Let us work together to ensure that Saturday, 15th day of August 2026 is remembered not for the division of discord, but as a triumph of Nigerian democratic spirit.
Coming up on the 15th of August will be adored the best in the history of this country.
Whoever you choose to vote for, please go there peacefully, cast your vote, do not allow violence, go back home peacefully.
August 2026, the people of Osun State will proceed to vote in the coming state governorship election. It is important for the entire world to know that the coming election in Osun State is important to Nigeria and is important to the whole world. This election is a major test of the integrity of INEC. And beyond that is a major test of the integrity of our institutions to know if we are prepared enough to conduct a free, fair, and credible election in the 2027 coming general election.
I said 86 people. Even I'm a native doctor. Can I just reel out the names to you? I'll provide you with the names. For example, Chief Orija, you understand, from Esauke, a chieftain of a court party, is being detained for no reason. He was arrested. Yes, he was arrested midnight. You understand? His house was destroyed.
So allegation by the Accord Party that its members are being arrested by the police, with some of them taken out of Osun State and distributed to detention centers across the country. But the police have said, indeed, especially with the case of the secretary to the Osun State government, that they have probable cause to move in. They arrested some suspected us. They got some voters' cards. Some other reports are saying just so that they saw that and other. But violence have been trailing that election, and we hope the institutions of government will be neutral, especially security agencies.
That's a very key issue, because most times what fuels some of these violence is a lack of neutrality by the agencies of government, particularly the security agencies. Of course, we are not fools. When something is happening and that is not usual, that is not the normal, then you begin to wonder, especially towards elections. We've seen cases where security agencies begin to act like people who are taking sides when they should be very, very neutral. You talked about, recovering voters' cards. And I asked, how many? 2 voter cards. 2 voter cards. Okay, you covered money. Of course, during the elections, people are supposed to, or parties would need cash. So for me, those are not unusual discoveries, if you ask. 2 voter cards, what's the big deal about 2 voter cards? And then 4-point-something million for a party that is running for an election. I think that, thank God that the IG that we have today is a very decent man. At least I know him to be a very decent person, except, of course, if he's going to change. And I know that he will do everything possible to ensure that Osun State does not burn during this election. And you know that Osun has that history of violence with every election that is conducted there. We have seen the one before the last, where even registered voters were not allowed to come out of their houses to come and vote. A lot of them were injured. So we don't want to see such things again. We want peace during elections. Uncle Tunji, we're counting on you. We're counting on your antecedents when you were in Lagos leading the Rapid Response Squad. We're counting on you when you assisted the former IG to maintain law and order in a lot of states. When you went to Rivers State and you were able to curb the violence there, we're counting on you. Uncle Tuji, please, don't let Osun State burn.
When I watched the story on our station AIT last night, I listened to the intro by the newscaster. But when the reporter finished the narration and I watched the visual, I felt embarrassed. I was expecting to see that the police recovered AK-47, den guns, shotguns, bullets, daggers, sticks, and whatever. I felt so embarrassed when in the story I saw that the police have not discovered or recovered any articles of violence or weapons. I have photocopier in my house. Will you come and say you are arresting me because I have photocopier? How much is 4 million naira in the value of our naira today? A lot of Nigerians are
That's the cash they said.
Yes, a lot of Nigerians are keeping 5-10 million in their homes because when they needed that in most of the banking halls, those monies will not be available. And many others are keeping such values in dollars and pounds and euros. I think what happened in that raid was so shameful. The allegations of that apartment was hiding those alleged talks. Talks were not found in that apartment. I think the Inspector General of Police, a very decent officer whose career has shown his capacity, need to do something. Number one, she should transfer that Commissioner of Police and his immediate subordinate like the DCs and ACs, so that those electorates will have confidence in the security agents that are there, especially in the Nigerian police force. With these things that are happening, the allegations of arresting Accord Party officials and taking them even to outside the state and what have you, he should get his people from headquarters to go and investigate what happened. And if police officers are found doing the wrong thing, they should, the system should checkmate them. And now that the election is coming, removing those officers because of conflict of interest should be the main.
I like, as you have not minced words, my colleagues, in looking at the security situation in Oyo State, in Osun State, in the run-up to this election, because there's a saying in my place that elders don't watch as a she-goat is undergoing delivery while the rope is still tied around the neck. Sometimes you need just to speak up and call a spade so that the right thing be done, so that we avoid the unthinkable. Erosion of democratic ideals start this way. When security agencies are perceived not neutral, it engenders violence and encourages the other parties to resort to violence. Not also sending out a note of warning to those raising these allegations of security partisanship. There have been violence recorded, accusing fingers are pointed at members of the other party. So this charge is to all the parties involved. You must approach that election without violence, adhering to all laws and all regulations. And let's quickly, in the absence of our guests, we are supposed to be joined by a member of House of Representatives from Osun State, but due to some late-minute developments, Bamidele Salam, he was unable to join us. Because we don't have our mails for today, we'll resort to our YouTube platform where a lot of conversation is ongoing, and we'll be sharing some of them with you right now. Our YouTube page is at Repa Abuja, where we are transmitting live. Engineer Kelo EO says, like the second airport in Anambra State, there is a major project in the state. Even when Anambra Airport has not been fully operational, the cargo aspect of the airport is yet to be put in use. Anambra is currently constructing a second airport. You can imagine that is taking place. But I know that is the situation. Even when the current one is
not being utilized.
You comment on it. Let's run through the other comments. Goswill says, with the president speaking with the traditional leaders, law enforcement agencies, EFCC and the like, should keep eye on those governors and the citizens to need to hold them accountable. Marcel Nwoke says, the president is not exempted because he has his own coastal highway, which due process was not followed in the award of the contract. So to him, all of them are culprit. Prince Elesami Michael says President Tinubu chose to be pouring water inside a basket, and he noticed that the basket cannot hold the water, and he has continued to pour the water into the basket. He ends by asking who's checking on how the governor spent the money. Goswill says Ebonyi State is the worst. In terms of flyovers, there are so many that are not, in fact, very useful. And the last one is from Joshua, and he says, Mustafa blaming the British for not investing in education in the North 70 years ago was the most bizarre thing he has heard in recent time.
That's because
he didn't explain.
He doesn't know. But let me start from Anambra. You know, your state, Anambra, has about 300 billionaires at the last count, according to some of you. They are into very successful trades of various commodities, and they carry out a lot of imports from equipment, spare parts, drugs and medication, and what have you into the state. But when I hear cargo airport in those states, what comes to my mind virtually has always been every state must have had something to export. Like in Adamawa, Murtala Nyako, the naval general, had very successful orchards where you have these beautiful mangoes and what have you been brought up. Every state should have had something that will not just be used in Nigeria, but can have, you know, those things exported. And they needed those cargo aircraft to export them. But you carry money to go and build big airports where there are no products you are going to export.
They all call them cargo airports. They claim they are cargo airports, but we don't say any cargo.
It's more of imports than exports.
And then beyond that, if you go to history of education, you know, the churches started building schools like the CMS Grammar School, 1860, whatever. Then in the southeast, in the southwest, other parts of southwest, Baptist Academy and whatever. But when the colonial administration formally took up the colony, they invested so much in education. And by the year 1909, 1903 to 6, most of the northern parts have already, or all the northern parts we have already fallen to the British. Some, like Borno, joined the British voluntarily, and others. Go and check your history. How much in educational investment have the white men done in northern Nigeria?
Are you saying there are no Christian schools over there?
There were none. Maybe in southern Borno, places like Garkida, where in small villages you can have, it has produced like 9, 10 professors. The North really suffered. And the philosophy of the British about the Muslims, because of their experience in Sudan and Egypt, has never changed. Our people don't read history. No wonder that was why history was removed. But I'm telling you, that is also not an excuse in the 21st century. We need to do more by ourselves. The gap used to be so wide, but not any longer.
You know, in the southeast, it is not even much of what the missionaries have done. Oh, yes, we have schools like Bishop Shanahan. We have the one, I think I've forgotten the name now, SAGS, St. Augustine's. But you see, majority of the schools are built through communal efforts. The one in my mother's village was built by the people. If you look at almost every town you go to in the southeast, it became compulsory once a child is 18 years old to start contributing to the general purse. And they build schools, they build hospitals from this general purse. The community, that's why you see most community high schools in the southeast. So the southeast was not waiting for the government, or is not waiting for the government. Even higher institutions, they're beginning to build. You find that the wealthy now are building universities.
Are you saying the white men have not built schools as foundation for those places?
If you watch, I started by saying, yes, there are schools like Bishop Shanahan, St. Augustine, so you understand. But majority of the schools are communal schools.
And missionary schools.
Yes, missionary schools, communal schools. Almost everywhere you go, you see community high school, something community high school. They're built by communal efforts. From 18 years, you start contributing to the general purse. It's compulsory almost in every part of Igbo land through these meetings that they hold, development unions and co.
Okay, back to our YouTube page. Pogba Sarah says, Zuju, you see nothing wrong, but when someone is in possession of another person's voter's card, the two voters' card belongs to other people.
They can keep it there.
Who are the people?
It's enough for the police to move in. Daniel Olaniro says, so those of us that are in the axis of Sokoto-Badagry Highway knows the importance of that Sokoto to Badagry Highway. To him, that's a good one.
What is he going to transport? Ask him.
No.
It will transport a lot. That's what
onions from Sokoto, I guess.
They will indeed take good advantage of it. Tekena Dagogo says the Nigerian police force must be deliberate in making themselves not to appear like the armed wing of the ruling party. They seem like this under the PDP in 2015. Now the APC is in power.
Now, if you talk about that, the highway from Lagos to Sokoto, to Badagry, I really do not see anything bad in that, because most of us thinking of, are you going to import onions from Sokoto?
They produce a lot of onions.
But you see, that road is going to pass through a lot of states, a lot of towns, a lot of states. So it won't even be looking at Sokoto alone.
As transit
exactly. And then people from plateau states who are big-time farmers, Benue State, can pass through that route to
they go to Sokoto before going to Lagos.
To move, they don't have to go to Sokoto. That road is going to pass through towns and
because you are mentioning Benue and Plateau.
No, what I'm saying is that other states will utilize
there are other
that
roads
route,
that will connect
exactly,
anyway.
that will connect. And they can be, it will be easier to bring these goods to the southwest before they get rot, because most of them, before they get to Lagos, are even half rotting. So it will make things easier. So I don't see anything wrong in it. I mean, China is building a lot of long roads that are connecting. The network is fantastic.
They are telling us we have to go.
Finally,
but at the same time, let us attend to the needs of the people.
I think our problem is not the road when you are talking about agriculture. Our problem is how do we preserve and get the market value. Those Ghanaians taking yam to the UK, they take it perfectly. But in Nigeria, they try taking it to the UK. And before they get there, they get decomposed.
Thank you so much.
Now you are taking fresh tomatoes and onions and pepper in baskets, and they have...
also for being part of us this day and this week. We'll return on Monday with another edition. On behalf of my colleagues, my name is Amecha Nakwe. Have a good time.
Therefore, armyworm has caused devastating crop losses across Africa since it arrived in 2016 in Malawi at Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Biotechnology research scientist Kingdom Kwapata is leading studies in 2 varieties of maize whose genes have been modified to resist the pest. Such engineered crops are considered genetically modified organisms or GMOs.
We needed a solution because our farmers